Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Mr. Cassidy and I wanted to take some time to create this video for you and explain a new math concept called multiplication. Okay, so let's get started. Let's take a look at this picture that I made for you. And imagine to yourself that you received 4 boxes in the mail with 2 stars in each box. And you had to ask yourself, how many total stars do I have? So I want you to take a moment and think to yourself, when you look at this picture, when you look at this diagram, what kind of math problems or what kind of math equations can you come up with to solve this problem? Take a moment to pause this video and just think about it. Okay, so when I look at this picture, one math equation that comes to my head is to simply add the stars all together. So we see that there's 2 stars in here. There's another 2 stars in here, another 2 stars in this box, and another 2 stars in this last box. And we can simply just say, oh, we can add it. So we got 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And we add all that together, we can count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We see that we have 8 stars total. So this is a perfectly fine math equation to solve this problem. But I want to introduce an even better way. And this method is possible because we're adding the same number over and over, 2, 2, 2, and 2, which we can think of as kind of repeated addition. This is repeated addition because we're adding the same number, the number 2, over and over again. And repeated addition is also known as multiplication. Okay. So in multiplication, instead of asking yourselves what numbers you can add together, you're asking yourselves 2 more specific questions. You're asking yourself, how many groups are there? And you want to ask yourself, how many are in each group? Okay. So when we're thinking of it that way, we can see, oh, well, each box would be a group. So we could see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. So when we ask ourselves how many groups are there, we say there are 4 groups. And we see how many are in each group. We can see there's 2 stars in each box. So we say that there's 2 in each group. And now we can say we have 4 groups of 2 stars each. And now that we're working with the numbers 4 and 2 instead, now we can come up with the equation, the much shorter equation, 4 times 2. Now this little x, this little symbol that we call times, represents the multiplication here. And 4 times 2 is basically the exact same thing as 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And we would get the exact same answer. We would get 8 stars. But the way that we would think about it is a little bit different. So instead of just simply adding all the numbers together, you can think of multiplication as skip counting. So a lot of you might be familiar with skip counting, counting by 2s instead of just adding them all together. So we could say there's 2 in this box, so there's 2, 4, 6, and 8 stars. So by skip counting by 2s 4 times, we got the same exact answer, 8 stars, except it was a little bit faster this time. And it shows a different, shorter equation. So why is multiplication important? There are a few reasons why multiplication is important. For one, as you get older and you go up grades, you're going to be multiplying a lot more. And for another reason, it's a lot faster to do rather than adding a number over and over and over again. And we can look at that in this next picture I made. Wow. So this is a similar concept. Instead, we have 10 boxes with 5 hearts each. And we're asking ourselves the same exact question. How many total hearts do I have? But so we can think of it the exact same way as we were looking at this one. We could just add it. We could see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hearts in each box. So we can say there's 5 here and 5 here, 5, 5, and 5, and 5, and so forth. We have a lot of 5s. And we could add them, but that would take a super, super long time. So if we go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, that takes way too long. And this is why multiplication is so important. Because again, if we're asking ourselves the question, how many groups are there? And how many are in each group? We can make a much simpler equation. We see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 groups. And we see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hearts in each group. So now we're just working with the numbers 10 and 5. And the exact same thing as the last problem, the little symbol we put in the middle is a little x. And we would say this as 10 times 5. That is way shorter than saying 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. So multiplication is really just a faster, more efficient way to think about math. So now we can just skip count by 5s. If we skip count by 5s, instead of adding each one individually, we could say there's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50. So we would say 10 times 5 equals 50. And by multiplying or skip counting, we found that there are 50 total, oh wait, not stars, 50 total hearts. There we go. And you can see this was way faster than adding all the 5s together. So in some cases, you might have multiplication problems that maybe uses numbers that you're not familiar with skip counting with. Maybe you have the problem 7 times 3. In this method, you could skip count the number 7 3 times, which would be 7, 14, and 21, but you might not be as familiar with that. And in those cases, we have a little handy type of tool we can use. Let me pull that up. The tool we can use for that would be a multiplication chart. So here, this is a 1 to 12 multiplication chart that we can use to skip count all the different numbers in order to multiply them. So we could skip count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, skip count by 3s, 3, 6, 9, 12, skip count by 4s, all the way up until the number 12. So if you're ever working with really, really big numbers that you're not as familiar with skip counting with, this is a good way for you to practice. But eventually, if you want to get really, really fast at math, you want to practice enough to the point where you can memorize how to skip count by each of these numbers. But I'll take a little bit more time. So let's take a moment to look at this. Let's take a moment to look at this worksheet that I want to share with you. Okay, where is it? It's the next one. Oh wait, no, here it is. Beautiful. Okay, so in this worksheet that I'm going to assign to you, I want you to ask yourself the same question. Instead of adding over and over these types of pictures, ask yourself, what kind of multiplication problem can I come up with in order to solve this instead? I don't care so much about the answer. I just want you to get used to multiplying using the symbol. So for this example here, we can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. We see the number 4 over here. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we can see there's 4 groups of 9 blocks, and they represented that over here. This says 4 times 9. And that's another thing about the times symbol. It can appear different ways. In some ways, it appears as an X. And in some ways, it appears as a dot. The one I want you to practice using is the X, though. So let's take a look at number 1. Again, we're asking ourselves, how many groups are there? And how many are in each group? So if we look at the first problem, we see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. And we can see that there's 1, 2, 3 hearts in each group. So in this problem, we would say there are 5 groups of 3 hearts each. And if we look at the answer sheet for number 1, look, it's 5 times 3, which would equal 15 after counting all that. Perfect. So this is one way for you to kind of more like visualize and see the problem. And that's really important for you to recognize. Eventually, you're going to work with only numbers without pictures. And that's what this shows. So in this one, it's basically the exact same thing as this sheet. Except in this one, you're working with numbers instead of pictures. So looking at this example, we see we have 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Now, it's the exact same number. This is repeated addition. You're adding the same number over and over and over again. Just ask yourself, how many times am I adding this number? So if we look at how many 2's there are, we see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that turns this addition problem into the multiplication problem, 5 times 2. Perfect. Okay, so the second one, or the first one here, we see 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And again, it's the same number. This is repeated addition, which is the same thing as multiplication, except multiplication is faster. Ask yourself, how many groups of 2 am I using? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups of 2. So we have 7 groups with 2 in each group, and that would bring us to the answer 7 times 2. Okay, great. So in the worksheets I assign you, try to think of it this way, and I hope that this video helps you. If you have any questions, feel free to make any comments, and I'll try to answer them and explain it to you in a different way that hopefully you can understand better. Thank you for watching.